Hey guys, this is Damon with SSVi, and today I'm going to show you how to stipple exactly like I do. So, hopefully the camera's not too shaky, it's kind of wobbly and unbalanced, but there it goes. So, here we go. Actually, I'm not going to show you that at all. What I am going to show you is how to install your Glock 43 Tyr trigger shoe. So, I don't have a 43 on hand, so I'm going to use my SSVi 42, which for all intents and purposes is the exact same gun, just slightly smaller specs, but everything I'm doing will be exactly like you're going to do with your 43. So, first thing you're going to do, of course, is make sure it's safe and clear, which you always do that, right? When you're doing any kind of work on your gun or any manipulation, not at the range or when you're carrying. So, safe and clear. Take the slide off. That's the easy part. Now, there are some tricks to taking apart a Glock that not a lot of people know, and hell, I didn't know the first few times I was doing it too. So, start with the easy pin. I've got a little Glock tool here. I highly recommend it. I use it all the time. So, go ahead and push that rear pin out. That'll push out easily. Your front pin, on the other hand, is a different story. And the reason that is because it's when you take it out, you'll see that it's grooved, and your slide lock is what keeps that in place. So what we're going to do is you're going to apply pressure. Do not get a hammer, don't do anything crazy with it. All you're going to do is apply pressure to that pin while you manipulate this. You might have to move it up and down, side to side, around in a circle, but eventually it's just going to pop on through with just simple hand pressure. So like so. I know kind of what I'm doing with my hands is hard to see, but you'll get the gist of it. So that pin comes out. As you'll see, it's got these little grooves on either side, so it's reversible. It doesn't matter which way you put it back in. Okay, now you got your locking block. What you're going to do, use the same tool or a punch and go ahead and pop that out. So you pop that out. Now you can get your slide lock out. And now your entire trigger assembly and housing will just come on out, slide out easily. So now you're looking at this, which if it's the first time you've done it, might look a little daunting, but this is seriously about as simple as it comes. So what you're going to do now is take your trigger bar off this. So you're just going to basically pop it off. I mean, move it the wrong way and it's going to come off anyway. So you've taken that off, and as you'll see, you got a pin on one side, nothing on the other. So what you're going to do is you're going to break this shoe off. And the way you're going to do that, I'm going to play this with as few tools as possible, just because I know not everyone out there has got a whole lot of stuff. You can use a 1/16, I think this is his punch, which is just a tiny bit smaller than this pin. And the trick here is, this part gets a little, well, it gets tricky because you can't just lay this down on a flat surface and then punch this through. You've got your trigger bar that's all curved. You got to have a way for the pin to go somewhere. So I'm going to pan the camera down just a touch and show you. I mean, I'm not using anything fancy. It's just an AR-15 wrench. So what I'm going to do here is I put it right here, so the bar's got somewhere to go. It's not giving me any pressure anywhere else, and the pin's got somewhere to go. So I mean, I'll use a roll of electrical tape, or anything else that'll do the job. So got the pin over the punch. You take your Ferrum Forge hammer. You have to have one of these, or just none of this is going to work. So if you don't have one of these yet, go ahead and turn this off. Get yours ordered in a few months when you get it, and we'll pick it back up from there. So you're gonna pop that on out. Easy. Now this little thing right here, this part's important. What you're gonna do is you're gonna throw it away. So that is no good anymore to you or anyone else. Okay, now you've got your SSVi Tyr trigger shoe. So the pin's already most of the way in. What you're going to do here is, and these are little tricks I've learned. There might be other ways to do it. This is what I've learned to have the least amount of errors, injury or damage to the shoe. So I'll just show you how I do it. You find your own way if you think you know some way better, but this way has worked for me very well. So take your shoe, be sure you're putting it in the right way, the exact way it was in the previous trigger shoe. So what I do is now I'm going to stick this on something metal or something rigid, that pin won't be able to penetrate through. And what I'm doing here is I can visibly see that the bar is lined up with the shoe. So this is way easier than doing it this way and trying to pound on this pin and hopefully you're lined up. If I do it this way and put the pin on something hard, like, you know, I've got the same wrench. If you got an anvil, what, you know, piece of metal, really hard, wood, whatever it is, that'll work for you. Okay. You're not going to use this badass hammer for this part. What you are going to use is a rubber mallet, wood mallet, whatever, something similar to that, something that will not mark up or ding a piece of aluminum. So what I do at this point is I'm going to tap on the shoe, making sure everything is totally, completely level. If you're at an angle, it's going to be bad. So keep it all as level as possible, and you're just going to tap it on down. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and play it worst case scenario like you weren't really lined up. So I'm going to show you what happens if you were slightly misaligned and then the easy way to fix it. So let me get that out of alignment, and I can see that the trigger bar metal is in the way, so the pin's not going to pass through. So give it a couple taps, and I can see, oh crap, it's stuck. The shoe itself barely moves. This is actually a fine situation. So I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up. Barely off alignment, and when you look through that hole, you'll be able to see where you're misaligned. So all you have to do is wiggle the trigger bar into place. You hear it snap right there. Okay, now you're good to go. At this point, no more of the pin side down, none of that. What we're going to do now is turn it over, because there's the pin is through the hole. If you keep trying to go down, that pin's going to sit recessed past the little artistic grooves right there, and you're not going to be able to pound it out flat anyway, and then your shoe's going to end up on the table or whatever it is you're using and get marked up. So what we're going to do here is pin side up. I tend to use the end of the table just like this, because again, it gives me somewhere for the trigger bar to go, and the shoe lays totally flat. And I'm going to use that same 1/16 punch and same mallet. And at this point, it's going to pass through pretty easy. And once that you see it's totally lined up on one side, you'll see it's lined up on the other. So you're good to go. So once you've got it to this point, make sure your safety is good to go. Make sure you're free moving here. And we're going to go ahead and reassemble the gun. The hard part's done. So you got your trigger housing here. You're going to simply, you can see exactly how it all fits together. It's really simple once you get it. So once it snaps into place, you'll be able to tell because it kind of holds itself. The connector here, I'm using actually an aftermarket Ghost Edge connector, which improves the trigger pull immensely. Instead of that super hard snap that we're used to on the 42s and 43s, this lightens that load quite a bit. So you get your trigger bar all flush into line with that connector, and this will easily sit right back on in there. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and stick the housing pin back in, and that should just go right on in with finger strength, or you can use your punch to push it the rest of the way in. Now the slide lock, if you look down there, you'll see a little circular, I don't think the camera's going to pick it up, you'll be able to see it on yours, a little circular spot where that will fit just perfectly. So you got your shoe in there, you're going to put the slide lock in there, and when that's lined up, you'll see it looks exactly how it should on the side. And now you've got your trigger block. That will simply slide around and surround everything else. And again, we're just going to work this on through. Okay, so the same problem that you had when you're taking this all apart, you're going to run into something similar when you're putting it back together. The spring tension on the slide lock will make this somewhat out of alignment, which it's designed that way, so once it's all into place, you'll have spring tension here so that it'll allow your slide to lock back when it's supposed to. Sometimes when it's not supposed to, too. It's just some people's experience. All right. So when you're pushing that pin all the way through, I'll tend to be watching on this side so I can make sure that I've got that slide lock lined up in place, and as I'm pushing the pin, it's just way easier. So I'm pushing on the slide lock right here while I'm pushing on the trigger pin on the other side. So that should go through pretty simple. Got my Glock tool. Now what you're going to listen for, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but once that pin is in all the way, maybe, and you didn't hear it. You hear it on the full-size guns, it's a lot easier. It'll snap into place. And that means that slide lock hole went around that groove, so everything's locked into place and good to go. So from there, slide goes back on, and go ahead and function test. Reset, pull, and you're good to go. That is how easy it is to take apart your Glock 42 or 43 and put in an aftermarket Tyr trigger, which that's only what you're buying, isn't it? So there it is. Thanks for watching.